For the second part of the notes, we're going to be writing the nth term formula, but this time we're using a graph. So on the other examples, we had the sequence and we were able to create the table. Well, I can still create a table from this graph. So when we create a table, remember x is on the left and y is on the right. When you are writing an ordered pair, x is on the left, y is on the right. This one here in the middle is 0, 0. So anything to the left is negative, anything down is negative, anything right is positive, and anything up is positive. So this one in the middle is 0, 0. I'm just going to identify all my points before I actually create my table. Here I'm going left 1, so that's negative 1 because x is sideways. So I went left 1 and then down 1, 2, 3. So this means from the center or the origin, I went left 1 and then down 3. And I know this is left because it's negative, and I know this is down because this is also negative. So now I go back to the middle and I go over 1 and up 1, 2, 3. So this one is right 1, up 3. And this one I go back. You always go back to the middle. I go over 1, 2, and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right 2, up 6. So now that I have my ordered pairs, I can just use those numbers to actually create my table. And I'm just going to start from the bottom up. Negative 1, negative 3. 0, 0. 1, 3, 2, 6. So remember that when you're doing the nth term formula, we use the calculator. So in order to be able to get the slope and the y-intercept from the calculator, we need our table. So now that I have my table, I'm going to go ahead and use my calculator. New document, don't save, add a calculator, menu, statistics, stat calculation, linear regression. So creating a table just makes it easier to put in the numbers. I put in my braces, negative 1, comma, 0, comma, 1, comma, 2. And make sure that your numbers from your table match what you're putting in the calculator. Control braces, negative 3, comma 0, comma 3, comma 6. Go down to OK. Now it gives me the M and the B. Remember, M is the same as D, or the common difference, and B is the same as a sub 0. So D equals a sub 0 equals. D is the same as M in our calculator, and a sub 0 is the same thing as B in our calculator. So the calculator tells me that M is 3, so therefore D is 3. And it tells me that B is 0, so a sub 0 is 0. Then I just use that to write my equation, which was f of n. This is just copied from the other page. Equals D times n plus a sub 0. And when you have this, D and a sub 0 are what we replace. And those are the two things we found here. So my nth term formula is f of n equals 3 n plus 0. All I did was I took my value of D, which is 3, and I put it in front of n, and a sub 0, and I put it at the end. Now it's asking find the value of the sequence when n equals negative 12. So I'm going to use this exact same formula. So f of n, though now I'm replacing with negative 12 because they told me that n equals negative 12, equals 3 parentheses plus 0. And in both of these parentheses, the number has to match. And they told me that that number is negative 12. So I just put this part in my calculator. 3 parentheses, negative 12, close parentheses, plus 0. So my answer is negative 36. The last example, we're writing the nth term formula for the arithmetic sequence. And they told me a sub 1 equals 12 and d equals 1/2. So I already have part of this. I know that d equals 1/2, but they told me that the first term is 12. So I am going to create my table first, because having that table makes things a lot easier. So I know that my first term, right here, this is what this one means. The first term is 12. So the second term, this is my rule. This is my pattern, how I find my pattern. That's my common difference. If it is 1/2, that's the same as 0.5. And because it is not negative, that means I'm going to add. So every time I'm going to do plus 0.5, because 1/2 is the same as 0.5. And once I get that number, to get that number, I'm going to add 0.5. And once I get that number, I'm going to add 0.5. So 12 plus 0.5 is 12.5. 12.5 plus 0.5 is 13. 13 plus 0.5 is 13.5. These two pieces of information are for the recursive routine. For the recursive routine, we need a sub 1 and d, which we already have. A sub 1 is 12. The common difference is 1/2 plus 1/2 because it's positive. So I can write my recursive routine already. A sub n equals a sub n minus 1 plus, 1/2. That's a fraction. Plus 1/2. And then my first term is 12. And that's what they told me up here. Equals 12. For the nth term formula, I need my common difference, which I already have. It's 1/2. But this time I need a of 0. I have a of 1. So to move forward, I'm adding 0.5. Well, for the nth term formula, I can put all of this in the calculator and find out what my b is, because b is the same thing as my 0 term. New document, don't save, add a calculator, menu, statistics, stat calculation, linear regression. I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I do 12, 12.5, 13, 13.5. My m is 0.5, which is the same as 1/2. But my b, which is my a sub 0, is 11.5. I could have also found that by going back 1. Because if I go back 1, that's 0. So instead of adding 0.5, I would do minus 0.5. And that's how I get the 11.5. So once I have those two pieces of information, I write my nth term formula. F of n equals d, which is 1/2, and my a sub 0 is positive, plus 11.5. And once you have the nth term formula, that's what you use for this. So all I'm going to do here is replace n with 30, because that's what's inside my parentheses. So in my calculator, where I have an n, I'm going to put 30. So 1 over 2 parentheses 30, close parentheses, plus 11.5. And my answer is 26.5. For the nth term, use the calculator. M is D. B is your a sub 0 or your y-intercept. In the recursive routine, D is the same, but you don't use a sub 0 in the recursive routine. You need the first term in the sequence. And that's it.